So we're here at the London Classic Car Show, and I'm standing at a fantastic array of very bright, shiny, polished aluminium models. Kevin, this is your stand. Tell us a bit about Streamliner Designs.
Everything I produce is, like I say, polished aluminium. I started with the Bluebird pieces because that's what interested me initially, and then from that commissions have come in, and we've ended up doing work for a number of people like Classic Lotus we did some work for, and Adrian Hamilton, and we now do the work for Pebble Beach, the Concord Elegance. Every year we produce their trophies for them, and also Motor Classica in Australia. So quite international, and yeah, basically try and do limited edition pieces and purely take the form of the car and represent that in polished aluminium, so you get the real beauty of the pieces.
So these aren't detailed scale models in the same way as perhaps you would see with something else which was die-cast and with lots of different bits and pieces. It's very much more a thematic design, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's really taking the pieces back to as the designer would have drawn them. Before they gave it to the engineer to add all the important other parts on it, it's purely looking at the form and almost the way they would have crafted them in the clay when they first create those sort of clay bucks to get the designs.
Well, it's, as you can hear, we're at the London Classic Car Show. Lots and lots going on, and we apologise if there's noise in the background, but that's all the joy of being at the show. Just talk us through some of the things that are actually on display here, Kevin.
Well, I say we have Bluebird pieces, the CN7 and the 1935 car. We've got Sterling Moss's Mealy Meagly car as a limited edition piece, a new Shelby Cobra Daytona piece, and also Auto Union pieces. And I've actually got on display some of the Pebble Beach examples to show what we produce. And then there's also the large Jaguar C-Type that I produced with Sterling Moss as well. So there's a range of pieces ranging from about sort of 30 centimetres in length up to about 450 centimetres. And there's also a very large piece we did for a client, and they've gladly lent that to us, and that's in the VIP area, and that's a wall piece of a Ferrari 599 GTO. And it's about 3.5 feet long as a side profile of the car, again taking it right back to its purest form in aluminium. So very happy to have that piece here. The clients kindly lent it to us, and hopefully might get some more commissions based on some of these pieces.
So talk us through how you go about actually creating something like this. Somebody says that they want a 599 GTO. Where do you start?
Well, there's two ways of doing the pieces. Some of the pieces we can do CAD based, so if the CAD data is available, we can work straight from that. If not, it's traditional model making. So taking photographs, taking measurements from those photographs, doing research to find the correct measurements, and then creating the component parts that will ultimately go into the master to make that master pattern. And then from that master pattern, we then have two processes. If it's a relatively simple design, we can cast it using the sand casting process, where the pattern's packed in sand, remove the pattern from the sand, pour the metal in, and then you have a rough finish to polish back. Or if it's more detailed, we use lost wax casting. So there's a few more processes involved, but ultimately you end up with a wax representation of the master model, which has been created from a rubber mold from the master. You give that wax to the foundry, that then gets processed by having a ceramic material sprayed around it. They bake that in an oven to give you a hard ceramic shell, and the wax is poured out at that point, or burnt away, and then you pour the metal into that ceramic shell. And then you break the ceramic shell away, and you're left with the casting in more detail.
That sounds quite a process. And looking on your stand here, there is this model of, I think it would be a Ferrari, I'm not sure.
Yes,
but
a Ferrari-esque.
Ferrari-esque, yes, I like that. But that's the original model that you would have created to make the...
Yes, yeah, that's a piece that's... On that one, I'd actually created it using a hard resin, so machine and cut away from the resin, sand it, polish it, etc. And then from that, I would pour rubber around it, and then once that rubber's set, you cut it away from the master pattern, and that then allows you to pour the wax into that rubber mold, and that then gives you the waxes, which then go to the foundry.
It sounds a horrendously complicated process, but nonetheless, that's fantastic. It seems, Kevin, as if you've actually got two sides to the business. One is almost the retail side, and the other one is the bespoke stuff for awards and those sorts of things.
Yes, there is. I mean, again, the reason for being somewhere like this is, yes, to sell some pieces to individual clients, but then hopefully to pick up some of the commissions where it might be corporate work or it might be an individual. And I know people like sort of something that perhaps everybody else hasn't got, and at least the way I work here, you've got the opportunity to actually create something special for somebody, and it's in aluminium. It's the same material that their car is probably bodied in, if it's the same kind of era. So it's using all the same processes that components in their car would have been created from. So there's a real connection between the car and my pieces.
That's fantastic. You mentioned about producing the trophies for Pebble Beach. Now, there are an awful lot of classes and bits and pieces within Pebble Beach. How many do you produce for them?
It varies, but there's about 25 classes a year. That goes up and down depending on the entrance. But every class has a first, second and third place. So each one of those classes has 3 trophies to it. So if 25 classes, 75 pieces go out. But there's also special classes or special awards. So if your vehicle perhaps might be a Ferrari in a particular class, it might also win the Enzo Ferrari award. So same design of trophy, but instead of being part polished, part powder coated, it's a totally polished piece. So you can win both of those perhaps if you're lucky enough. And also, if you win your class, you then get put forward for the Best of Show nominee award, and there's 3 of those, which again are a bigger version of the class awards, and I produce those as well. So around about 100 pieces every year go out to Pebble Beach.
That's a major piece of work in itself, I'm sure.
Yes, there's about 3 months' work basically in sort of organising, polishing, assembling, etc. So yes, it's a big commitment, but it's nice to have them asking myself to produce the work, and it's nice to have that prestige of being able to produce the work for them.
And prestige it undoubtedly is. So what has 2015 got in store for Streamliner Designs?
Oh, who can tell? There's a few projects in the pipeline, some I can't talk about, but which are ongoing, and there's some potential work as well. So it's really, the business is expanding. I say the business, it's myself, and also now got a friend on board helping with some elements, but primarily it's myself. But it's really trying to open up what I do and get it to more people, discerning clients, whether it be automotive or in the yachting world. There's some potential there as well. We're looking at that market. So, but it's really producing bespoke pieces. That's the main thing, where somebody gets something quite unique that they can't get elsewhere.
So if somebody wants that unique piece replicating either their own car or a car that they've always lusted after, how do they get hold of you?
Well, they can phone or email the website. The website being streamlinerdesigns.co.uk. They can email at khicks@streamlinerdesigns.co.uk, or they can even pick up the phone and ring me on the mobile, which is 07752 107 235.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. Kevin, thank you very much indeed for showing us around these lovely, lovely exhibits. Thank you.
Okay, not a problem. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.